Welcome to the Street Dog Podcast, brought to you by the Street Dog Coalition. We are a national nonprofit providing free medical care and related services to pets of people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. I am your host, Daria Tavana, and I'm also the Director of Development at the Street Dog Coalition. So on our podcast, we explore the world of animal welfare through the eyes of experts, street dog vets and volunteers, and organizations that are doing incredible work for the animals. We share inspiring stories, provide updates on advocacy work, and we give you an inside look at the challenges and rewards of working to improve the lives of animals belonging to people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. So if you're tuning in live on Facebook, it's great to have you here. Go ahead, drop an emoji in the comments, say hello. Let us know what your favorite food is, where you're tuning in from, what the weather's like. Hopefully it's better than the weather here. I'm outside of Philadelphia and it's kind of both rainy and hot and humid and sunny at the same time. So it's interesting. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, make sure that you're following the Street Dog Coalition on Facebook so that you can also tune in live every episode, which will give us an opportunity to connect in real time, which clearly I love to do. So on today's episode, we have a special guest joining us, a very special guest joining us to shed light on the recent devastating wildfires in Maui. I am thrilled to introduce Jenny Miller. She's the Director of Development from the Maui Humane Society. And what Jenny's going to do is share some valuable insights into the impact of the wildfires on the local community. She is going to share with us a bit about the efforts undertaken by the Maui Humane Society. And of course, most importantly, how we can support their ongoing work. So I hope that you're all ready to gain a deeper understanding of the challenges faced and the resilience shown in the face of this adversity. So let's just dive on in. Welcome to the podcast, Jenny. It's in my opinion, overdue in terms of having you here, but we're just so excited that you're able to join us.
Aloha. Thank you so much for having me.
And I have an excuse to say aloha. Yes. Aloha, Jenny. Jenny, thank you again. I know I thanked you obsessively before we hit record, but again, I can only imagine how much you have on your plate right now, and I'm just really glad to have this opportunity to uplift and share your story. So maybe we can dive on in. Can you provide us with an overview of the impact that these recent wildfires have had on the local community and wildlife in Maui? I think we all kind of are piecing together what happened on the news. I know some of us have gone to Maui to volunteer, but from your perspective, what is going on there? What is the impact that it's had?
It's had a tremendous impact. The impact's been even greater than one would think on the entire island, because not only do we have 4,200 people that are displaced and now living in hotels with their pets, with no home to go back to. Some of them still haven't been able to go back to see the condition of their home. And the fire spread so quickly and it was so hot that there's just ash. I mean, there's nothing left. It's an unusually hot, fast fire. So we've got an entire community, We've got an entire community that's of Lahaina that's been displaced, but we've also got, I think, 800 businesses that have also been lost in the fire. So we have a lot of people just in that sense that are out of a home, out of a job, their cars are burnt, their kids' schools burnt down. And then the collateral damage is that our main industry is tourism. And so with the fires, there were some people originally saying, don't come to Maui, don't come here. And what's happened is that our tourism has dried up. And so all of the other parts of the island are suffering. And so there's no tourists here. The beaches are empty, the hotels are empty, or they're housing displaced people or FEMA staff and things like that. So what we're finding now is as a humane organization, we're not only supporting the people of Lahaina, but we're now almost back to COVID times where everybody was laid off. I think they said our unemployment rate just shot up by like 2,000% or something crazy that doesn't even make sense. But basically everybody in the service industry is getting laid off. And so we're now facing an entire island that's in somewhat of an emergency state.
Man, that's I think tragic. I know a lot of people who are listening have probably, had the pleasure of visiting Maui on vacation. I know we have a team, a Street Dog Coalition team in Hawaii as well, not located on the island of Maui. And I know that Hawaii, all of the islands, and I was talking about this before we hit record, hold this place in people's hearts that I think is just unparalleled to other islands, to other places. I've seen people light up talking about two things: their pets and a recent trip to Hawaii that they've had. It's really, really true. I think oftentimes we view the Hawaiian Islands as this paradise, but we forget the volatility of the weather and the climate and geological changes in the islands. So it's to me horrifying to think of this place that I view as paradise, that so many people view as paradise, as being kind of decimated and beyond recognition. And I'm going to try really hard to not continue to thank you, but I do want to thank you, because the work that the Maui Humane Society is doing, even before this incident, was tremendous. And now I think there's got to be these emotional hurdles and roadblocks that you as human beings are navigating. What's that experience been like for you? How are you coping? Are you okay?
Yes, we are okay. I mean, I must say that we have an incredibly strong team. We have phenomenal staff. We have about 84 staff. They are all superstars, and we're very strong team. We're strong people, passionate, and we work very well together. We're already very entrenched with the community, and we've done a lot of fantastic things for the animals on this island with our community support. So from day one, the fires were burning up country, and nobody knew what was going on in Lahaina. We can't see Lahaina from this side of the island. We just see the windmills. And so nobody had any idea that Lahaina was burning down. And there's not a lot of good communication on the island, and the communications had gone down in Lahaina. So no information was coming out of Lahaina as people were literally running for their lives. We had no idea. And our shelter was actually on evacuation standby. So we were there till about midnight that night. We had all our cats in cages, all numbered. We had all the dog kennels ready to go. We had like about 40 volunteers and staff there. We were just watching the fire come closer and closer to the shelter. We've evacuated 2 times over the last couple of years and got all our animals out in less than 20 minutes. So we're ready to go at the drop of a hat. So we were just standing there watching, and then we heard Lahaina burnt down. Like, what do you mean Lahaina burnt down? Somebody died? How does that happen? And so we were all kind of confused about what was going on. And then the reality hit, and we started seeing people on TikTok and people on social media. And then it was like, whoa, we realized this is way bigger than any wildfire we've had before. And then we got, and then at around 11 o'clock at night, we were all still there waiting to see if we had to evacuate. An ambulance came with a dog, and we were like, what? And these people got out, and they said, we just came from Lahaina. It's on fire. Everything is on fire. And a firefighter just saw this dog run out of flames, and it was so badly burnt. We wrapped it up, put it in the ambulance, and drove it to the shelter, just hoping that somebody would be there. Of course, we were all there. Our vet clinic and our vets were there, and this dog was so severely burnt. Her toes were burnt off. All of her stomach was burnt. It was like raw skin everywhere. And she was wearing a purple harness. And we took her in and immediately started giving her treatment. We really didn't know what was going to happen. But she was the first animal that came in that made us realize, okay, something big is happening here. Let's get ready. This is going to be huge.
Can I ask what happened to her?
She actually just came out of the vet clinic. She's now doesn't have any more bandages on. She's had been wrapped up like a mummy for 5 weeks. Oh. And she's very sweet. Actually, the firefighter who found her wants to adopt her, and she's going to be just fine. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm
Yeah.
not crying. You're crying. We're all crying. Oh gosh, what a relief. I appreciate you shining a light on that one dog story. And maybe you can give me and our listeners a bit more insight into, I've been following you guys on social media, trying to get a sense of the incredible work that you're doing. But can you give us a glimpse into how the Maui Humane Society has been involved, since that moment, since that one dog, in the wildlife response, I'm sorry, in the wildfire response and recovery efforts? Are there any specific initiatives or programs you'd like to highlight? Lay it on us.
Sure. So we are the only animal shelter on the island. There are other rescue organizations that are foster based, and a lot of community cat programs and things like that. But we are the only shelter. We're the only place that anybody can bring an animal that doesn't have an owner that is in need of medical attention. So within the first few days after the fire, as we started to receive animals in various conditions of health, we were realizing that we were going to need way more veterinarians. So over the course of, I think, about 3 weeks, we ended up bringing in 41 visiting veterinarians from all over the country. People were literally getting on planes and coming over and saying, I'm a vet, I can help. I'm a tech, I can help. And so we basically turned our clinic into a burn ward. And we had dogs and cats. We had a very, very cute pig named Hamlet. You may have seen him on our Facebook page. His hoofs were all burnt. We've had burnt rabbits, burnt birds and things like that. I mean, we've had everything that you can imagine. We have a couple of African sulcata tortoises that weren't burnt, but they were in the fire. And then we had a lot of carbon monoxide poisoning as well, which is just from the inhaling the smoke. So in terms of our initiative, any animal that's trapped in the burn zone, any animal that's come from Lahaina can come directly to our shelter. We will provide it with any veterinary care that it requires. We're doing everything we can to treat any animal that isn't in a condition beyond a humane condition. So we've been doing some pretty miraculous things in terms of assisting these animals with their burns. But then we're also housing the animals. And usually we have a couple of days stray hold before an animal can become adopted. But because of the conditions and the situation in Lahaina, we're holding on to all animals for 30 days. And then even after somebody adopts it, we have some paperwork saying that if the owner were to show up within the next time frame, they would still be able to reclaim that animal from the new adopter. Because we've got a lot of pet owners that are deceased. We've got a lot that are in the hospital. We've got a lot that have just booked it to the mainland and are only now starting to piece things together because they had no cell service and they had no phone and home and car and no ID and no nothing. So everybody is in a position of just sort of getting their life back together. We have recovered 433 animals from Lahaina so far. We've had over 100 reunions, which are really, that's the hope that's getting us through right now. So these are people who had lost everything. And this is the one thing, their family member, their thing. And the hard thing is that people couldn't get into the fire. So say they were at work because it was later in the day, they couldn't get back because the streets were closed. So they knew that their pets were at home and they didn't know if their house was on fire. They just knew that they couldn't get to them. And the emotional trauma that these people have been through, often literally escaping as their clothes are melting to their backs. The stories they sound like fiction. It really does. And people are coming into the shelter and they have experienced so much trauma, and they're begging for their animal to be at the shelter. In most cases, they're not.
Right.
There was a massive loss of life. So it's tough. But other initiatives that we're doing is in the community is we're supporting all of the community. We're supporting all of the evacuation shelters, all of the hotels that are housing displaced people. We have several locations throughout the island where people can pick up any supplies that they need, from flea meds to collars, food,
Wow.
humane containment, anything like that. We literally have something for everybody, and we have a lot of it. So we're supporting the victims of the fire. We're now supporting the extended community that's been laid off, but we're also supporting animals that we don't normally deal with at the shelter. So we're finding that there are cattle, pigs, goats, and horses who have been impacted. We have had some fences that are all burnt down, food that has all been gone. For example, this pig farm, there's 1,200 pigs above Lahaina, and all of the food for those pigs came from the hotels on the west side, and it was from the scraps from their restaurants and stuff like that. Well, there's nobody at the restaurants, and even the hotels that are housing displaced residents from Lahaina, the restaurants are not open. So their food source is totally gone. And a lot of the horses, their water is contaminated. So there's a lot of contaminated water right now. So we're supplying those that need it with hay, with alfalfa, with clean water, big water catchment systems. We're having water trucked over to them. So we're expanding our reach to help anybody who has an animal that's in need.
That's, I think, nothing short of incredible. I think that's a testament, not only to the resilience of your organization, but to the resilience of people in Hawaii. I know that you're all, I've noticed from, friends that I have who are from the islands, people that I've met from the islands, there is this just resilience is the only word I can think of. And heart and spirit and soul of individuals who live in Hawaii, that it's not surprising to me that, the islands and Maui in particular, everyone has really come together and has found innovative solutions to problems that nobody could have anticipated, right? And as I'm sure you may know, our organization provides veterinary care to individuals who are experiencing homelessness, and it is, I think, oftentimes this issue of homelessness feels very distant to a lot of people who are fortunate enough to not have to necessarily worry about waking up one day and not having a home to go back to. But what an awful rude awakening for the individuals who live in Maui to suddenly be navigating this landscape of homelessness, and then of course wondering where their animals are, wondering if they'll be reunited with their animals. It's nothing short of a nightmare. And I just really appreciate the glimmer of hope that you're not only providing animals that you don't usually take care of, right, but also individuals, like you said, who are looking to reunite with their animals, who are looking to help the community. I know that there is a very deep spiritual connection between the land and animals and the people of Maui as well. And yeah, it's really fascinating to hear. And I'm wondering, what is my question? Is there a lesson that you're learning, or that we're learning, or that we can learn from the resilience of these animals in Maui? I imagine it's a very humbling experience. What lessons have you learned from the animals you're helping, I guess, is my question.
Well, animals are so resilient. As a shelter, we see animals being displaced from their home, put into a new, loud, chaotic, weird environment at the shelter that's just not conducive to any person or animal's well-being and mental state, and then going into a new home. And so we know that animals are very resilient. But it was interesting to see how many animals survived. So all the cats went down into kind of the ditches and into the culverts, into like cement tubes that carried water down the hill from Lahaina. So a lot of the cats survived. A lot of the dogs didn't, because I don't know if they didn't have that instinct, but they just ran. And some made it out, some didn't, but it was really luck of the draw in terms of where they were located. But seeing these animals come in who are disfigured and severely burnt and in incredible pain, just seeing them persevere, like that dog I was talking about that first dog that came in. I mean, I don't know a human that could get through that and then be up and at 'em, 4 or 5 weeks later. And this dog is the strength of these dogs and their willingness to just accept the help and carry on with loving hearts. We do feel that she has some trauma and some PTSD, which we're going to help her with in terms of some behavior quirks. But the resilience of the animals is something that it does create hope within us, because we know that there are more animals out there that are surviving, been 5 weeks and they're still alive and they're waiting for us.
Wow.
We know that they're still alive, so they don't give up. They do what they can do to survive.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. I have chills just hearing you speak into this. And I know that what was really challenging for you in the beginning was of course not being able to enter into the affected area. And I'm wondering, are there any other particular challenges or obstacles that your organization has faced while managing the aftermath of the wildfires? How have you been working to overcome some of these big challenges?
Sure, there's two. The first one is not so much related to our organization, but it does have an impact on it. And that's all these displaced people. They need to find housing. There's already a lack of housing, a very finite amount of rental housing. And I used to live in California, and there were all sorts of condo buildings that were owned by companies, and the whole building was for lease, and you could go in and shop around. That doesn't exist here. These are all pretty much owner owned condos and homes. There's no big leasing associations and opportunities to find housing. So there's not a lot of housing. So we're finding that people are going to have to probably leave the island to at least get themselves back on their feet. And to support that, we're actually offering free health certificates and airplane approved kennels for them to fly their animal back to the mainland if they need it. And a lot of them are taking us up on that. But there's even fewer pet friendly rentals. That's the number one reason that we have animals surrendered, is the lack of pet friendly housing. So now that we've lost Lahaina, the odds of finding an affordable pet friendly rental is like a needle in a haystack. And there's just literally nothing. I know Airbnb had been reaching out to us saying, could you please promote that Airbnb is trying to sign up owners of properties to give to to offer to the Lahaina displaced residents that are pet friendly. We're having such a difficult time placing people with pets. So we know that that's a huge issue. And so one of the consequences for us is that we're going to be seeing a lot of surrenders, that people are just going to say, my life is such a mess. I need to go, and I don't know where I'm going to land, and I'm just going to have to give up my animal. So we're expecting a lot of surrenders. The other thing that we dealt with was that we didn't know what we were doing. We're not trained to respond to something of this magnitude. We have basic emergency training, but mostly that's just for us to collect the animals and get out of the shelter if there's a fire coming. So we have not done this alone. We have had the most incredible support from national organizations and other shelters. They immediately came pretty much on day one. We had some existing relationships with organizations that put us in touch with the right people. So we had an organization called ASAR, that's Animal Search and Rescue and Animal Incident Management. Eric Thompson runs that. They basically go from disaster to disaster all over the country. They're the sort of premier animal disaster response team. We had John Peevler from Veterinarians Without Borders in Canada. He came and ran that. We had a guy named Trevor from Shelterly, which is a software that he developed after the Paradise fires. And it's a specific animal management tool to track animals that have been evacuated and displaced in animals, as well as track lost reports, found reports. So we ended up with over 1,200 lost reports of people looking for their animals. We had over, I think, 600 service calls. These are people who couldn't get back into the burn zone, but wanted us to go see if their house was still standing and if their animals were alive. So we were able to use that software. We had a whole bunch of other organizations. We had San Diego Humane sent their disaster response team. Arizona Humane sent their disaster response team. We've had ASPCA, HSUS. We have IFAR here right now. So we have not done it alone. We've just been people willing to do what they tell us to do. And it's been really great. Also, Greater Good Charities stepped up. They called Southwest Airlines. They called the president of Southwest and said, hey, here's the deal. We need to get these animals off Maui. There's nowhere for them to go. The guy called him back, the CEO, in 4 minutes and said, yes, you can use our plane. So we've never had
even Southwest Airlines.
Yeah, we've never had a commercial airline just say, yeah, you can fly the animal in the cabin, because we fly them all the time in the cargo. Right. So they covered all the seats and put kennels on every single seat and
wow,
got over 100 animals off to the Pacific Northwest. They're going to do it again in October, I think. So the entire world has come to our side and helped us get us through this. It's not just us.
And that's really exciting. And that's, I think, really reassuring. And said it before, and I'll say it again, a testament to how much people just love Maui. I mean,
it's so true.
It's so true. I think that there is this, there's this version of the Hawaiian Islands that people think of. I know a lot of people have gone like on their honeymoon to Hawaii, or they've celebrated, created really incredible memories with their family in Hawaii. And like you and I were joking about before I hit record, a lot of people visit there and never leave. And it is really beautiful to see to kind of see everyone really link arms to take care of the animals and the individuals who have been affected by these horrific wildfires. And I love the way you just rattled off all these organizations. That's amazing. I think I just fell in love with Southwest Airlines. I never thought that would happen, but okay, Southwest, we love Southwest. That was really, really kind and generous of them. And I know that, and this is going to be my last question for you, my favorite and most important question. I know people who are listening to this who may not have their own airlines, they definitely want to help. So I'm curious, as a community, how can we support the Maui Humane Society's ongoing efforts in the wake of these wildfires? Are there any specific resources, donations, or volunteering opportunities that you would like to recommend, Jenny?
Sure. So there's things are changing on a daily basis in terms of what we're dealing with here. Every day seems to kind of bring a new aspect that we need to address, or that we need to sort of pivot and change our strategy. There are many ways that you can help. We anticipate this is going to be a very long recovery for our community, extremely long recovery. We still have a possibility of 500 animals to trap in the burn zone. So we have experts here that have been trappers in the burn zones, in the Paradise Fires and campfires and things like that. They're over here doing some amazing work, but it's going to be a very, very long-term strategy. One of the best ways that you can help is to donate. The reason that I'm suggesting monetary donations is because right now we do have a lot of supplies coming in from our Amazon wish list and things like that. But if we were to have the monetary donation, we would be able to purchase those things as needed, so that we can kind of figure out what our supplies are. And in 6 months, we might need something completely different. So monetary donations are very much appreciated. We still need basic things like dog collars, dog leashes. There's never going to be a shortage of, we'll always have a need for those, I should say. We are still asking for food, for dog and cat food. Flea meds are really good, like the Costco brand over-the-counter flea meds. Those are huge. We have a lot of need for flea meds. And then in terms of volunteering, we have had people who just got on the plane and just said, hey, I just got off the plane from Tampa. We're like, what? I'm here to help. What can I do? So we're going to have a lot of volunteer opportunities for a long time. Even if people do come for a vacation, that's great. Come for a vacation. We have a program called Beach Buddies and Dog on Demand, where you can just come in, take a dog out for the day. The dog goes with a backpack. It has a water bottle, a towel, treats, a dog seatbelt, list of emergency things in case you need it. But
I feel like I've heard about this program, and sometimes they
Maybe.
even like on their leash, it says like, I'm available for adoption or something
Yeah,
like
yep,
that.
they have
Yeah.
the adopt me leashes. Yeah, it's a great way to get the dog out of the
Hmm.
shelter, go up country somewhere cool, go for a hike, go to the beach. We'll set you up with a dog that either likes the water or doesn't. And that's a really big way to actually have an impact on that animal.
That's beautiful. So what you're saying is I should book my flight to Maui now.
Maui is open. Maui is open. Please come. Come on,
You do
stay on the
not have to
south.
tell me twice. You do not have to tell me twice. I might actually look into that actually.
You should.
Oh, Jenny's coming in hot with the good ideas. That's beautiful. It really honestly sounds like there is an opportunity for everyone to get involved, whether they are on the islands, whether they are on the mainland. And I just know that the individuals who are tuning into this podcast episode are going to open their hearts, open their wallets, and open their calendars up to show you some support. I feel like the island, all the Hawaiian Islands, they're always there for us when we need them, when we need an escape from the chaos of the mainland. So I really believe in my heart that there are going to continue to be more souls who want to be there for Maui, who want to be there for the animals, for the people, for your incredible organization. And to anyone who is listening to this podcast, if you go in the show notes, I have a direct link to donate to the Maui Humane Society. And on their website, of course, you can learn more about the incredible work that Jenny and her team are doing at the Maui Humane Society. And I want to encourage you to get involved in as many ways as you can. If you usually donate, maybe try booking that trip and helping out in person. And if you've been there in the past and you've really enjoyed your time in Maui or any of the Hawaiian Islands, I encourage you to donate, right? So spread the love, do what you can, do what feels best for you. And Jenny, it has been a real treat chatting with you. I can't believe that you have found time in your incredibly busy schedule to chat with me and to give our audience insight into what you've been navigating. And I will say it one last time, and probably again in my follow-up email. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for doing what is often thankless work, working, I'm sure, crazy hours and helping animals and people who need you now more than ever. So please extend our gratitude on behalf of the Street Dog Coalition to the Maui Humane Society. And thank you, Jenny, so much for joining me today. I really appreciated chatting with you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it too. And thank you to all the support and the love from the entire world. Come for a vacation to Maui. We need you.
Done. And fly Southwest.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Jenny. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. Jenny, I look forward to following your journey, and I'm sure I'll be in touch again soon. Thank you. And thank you to everyone who's listening.
Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha.